You're first this time, Paul, by the way.
Shit. Okay. Okay, Grant, I'm ready then.
I feel like I have the advantage now because I have no idea what you're going to pick. We've got the wild card that's going to pick fucking time splitters on the N64 or fucking some, I don't know what else. What are you going to pick, Chris?
You'll find out. All
All right.
right. Welcome to the Mount Rushmorons, the show where we definitively rank the top 4 in film, TV, comic books, video games, wrestling, and pop culture. I'm your host, Chris Brennan, writer, director, marketing specialist, and producer. With me is
Now he's putting himself over. Now he's learning.
with me is my illustrious co-host, the co-writer and co-director of the feature thriller Killers Within,
Love it,
Mr.
love it.
Paul Bush.
Excellent.
And then, last but not least, the reigning, defending, undisputed best in the league, RCW Heavyweight. What are you doing down there?
No. Stop.
What?
Stop. Cook.
What is it, champ?
I lost the championship. It's gone. I don't want to talk about it. It's lost. I'm not the RCW champion. Just move on.
Well, why'd you let that happen?
It's gone. I lost it. Over 400 days. It's gonzo. I'm sorry, guys. I let you down. I let the listeners down. I'm sorry. But I'm
You
no
let
longer...
yourself down, Richie.
I
That's
let
the main
I let myself
thing.
down.
You let
I let
yourself
my family down.
Your
I
poor
let
son,
this,
you let everyone
this
down.
Is it, my poor son.
Yeah.
You know, like he always said, he's going into preschool saying, "Oh, my dad's a champion. My dad's this. My dad's that." Now he's going in saying, "My dad is a loser. My dad is pathetic. My dad is nothing." And that's how I feel right now. I feel like nothing.
Aww,
We need to do something
you're still
to,
a tag champ, though, right?
I'm still a tag champ. For this
Look, I think we can cheer Richie up today, can we?
Yeah. Of course you can.
We
We're talking about
can.
games. We're
Yeah.
talking about games.
Talk about games.
That's right. So we kicked off the podcast series, the show series, with films, then sitcoms, then wrestling. And I think now it's time to get into the wild, wacky world of video games, a place that's very near and dear to Richie's heart, especially because your first wrestling gimmick was one half of the Super Nintendo Bros, right?
That is correct. Basically took something that we loved growing up as kids and just attached it to our gimmick. It made sense. So yeah.
So, in this episode, we're actually going to be covering first-person shooters. And I remember when I first pitched this, there was a bit of hesitancy in the group. The rank was a little bit worried, especially Paul Bush, who said, "How are we actually going to do this?" And you even wanted to splinter it into segments. Isn't that right?
I'm splintering it. Like,
No, you're not
great.
splintering.
No
way.
It's impossible. We have to learn from our mistakes. No, we have to learn from our mistakes.
You're going to have to make the difficult
sitcoms.
decisions.
No.
You know, the Mount Rushmore and the Mount Rushmore are first-person shooters, straight up. That's it. Deal with it.
No, can't. We have to learn from the challenge of the sitcoms, and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And look, we keep doing this for ourselves. First to horror, of horror.
I know.
It's too hard.
Like we have to challenge ourselves. We have to challenge ourselves. The people want to see it. The people want to see the difficult decisions made. They want to see the cuts. They want to see the arguments. They want to see the fights. They want to see it. And we're going to give it to them.
All right, well, like I got 4 bangers for you today. So,
okay.
I'm expecting all 4 on the mount.
And if not, it can join your Fraser support emotional keychain, your USB that you bring to the mountain and you hold tightly as you look at it and wish it made it, but it didn't do it. If people want to catch that reference,
we got it right here.
here.
We're holding on our lucky charm.
And what have we added now with the Fraser was the Hulk Hogan leg drop, I think, made it from the last episode. Sadly,
that's right.
That's made the list. And what was the other one? Dog Soldiers made it. Was Dog Soldiers the...
No, Dog
Soldiers did not make it.
Sitcoms was next, but no, that did. I don't. I think Fraser's better than Hogan.
So I don't think anyone's ever said the sentence "Fraser is better than Hulk Hogan." I don't think those words have ever been put together.
So basically, what's been happening, if people have missed a couple of the last episodes, is there's usually one topic or one nomination that one of us is super hot on and refuses to let go of. So we found a way to make it work. When we discovered that Paul Bush actually has every episode of Frasier on a USB key that he travels with, we've nominated that as, if you really want it and the group says no, you can put it on a USB key and visit the Mount Rushmore. And so we so far have Fraser and Hulk Hogan's leg drop. So let's see what first-person shooter makes the emotional support USB key. All right. So before we begin, let's just kind of get the temperature of the room, and I'll kick it to Richie first. I want to hear kind of your impression of you as a gamer, considering that you became a wrestling character about it. I'm sure you're positive on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's always kind of been a part of my life. I actually have a very kind of early memory of the very first video game I ever played, and it was Yogi Bear's Great Escape on the Commodore 64 in my cousin's house. They had got a loan of it, tried it, and was like, what the hell is this? We couldn't even get past the first level because we couldn't figure out how to run and jump at the same time. Shortly after that, a couple of months later, a friend of my mom, she visited frequently, had a original Nintendo and had Duck Hunt and Mario, the original Super Mario Brothers. They were the second and third video games I ever played. After that, I was hooked. Every Christmas, I was asking for whatever console I could get. I got a Mega Drive. I eventually got a SNES. And as I got older in life, like, I ended up just getting all the consoles, big into Xbox 360, PS3. Now that I'm older and I can afford it, I just get all the consoles that I want. But like, when I was younger, it was very much like, it was quite limited in the sense that, like, I remember getting a Mega Drive one year for Christmas, and I had been out for quite some time. My parents didn't have that much money, and I really wanted Sonic. I got Sonic 2 with it. And my parents were like, well, you got Sonic 2, but like, at some stage, you're going to have to give it back to the shop. But we have this card that you can go back anytime you want and you can get any game you want. They basically had rented Sonic because they couldn't afford it. So I would go and rent games. And like, when I was in my teenage years, I got really into the N64. That was my jam. That was my console. I'm 13 and 14 at the time. Obviously, N64 is great, but I'd only get 1 or 2 games a year. So like, it was always limited. I always had to pick the big ones, like the Zeldas, the No Mercies, whatever. But I wanted to play every game. I'd be reading the magazines, reading the Nintendo magazines or whatever else. When I got older, when I bought my own house, when I had money, I digged up all my old Nintendo stuff from my parents' house, brought it here to the attic, started coming up with the idea of potentially setting up the game room, and it all snowballed from there. So now I'm on a mission, a retro collecting mission, where I've just started collecting for all of the old consoles I had as a kid, PlayStation, GameCube, but specifically Nintendo 64. So there's 264 official PAL titles for the N64, and I plan at some point to own every single one. Just because I couldn't do it when I was a kid, and like, I used to look up through those magazines and I would dream of playing all these games, and I'm just going to fulfill that dream, and I'm going to introduce them to my kids. And at some point, like, the collection will grow, and these things always increase in value. And at some point, I'll leave it to them. They can keep it, they can sell it, they can do what I want. But it's a passion project I have. It's a childhood thing, and I still play modern games as well. Obviously, I've all new consoles. I play any new games that come out if they're good. I have kind of really have my finger on the pulse with like games media. All the podcasts and YouTube stuff I watch is all games related. It's kind of my escape from everything. My escape from work, family, wrestling is to game. I find it relaxing. I find it nice. I find it therapeutic. I find it nostalgic. And yeah, it's my jam overall. So at some point, I'm going to complete that collection and live the boyhood dream like Shawn Michaels and have a complete N64 collection. So that's me, as quick as I could, in a nutshell, video games.
Now, Paul, are you happy he went first?
I am, because it's like, I can just, Richie's done an essay, and then I can just put ditto underneath it, because
okay.
It's the same. Like, I started out on the Atari 2600. That's before, that's before. So like, playing Asteroids and Centipede and all that on that. We'll go over to my friend's house. You'd bring the little joystick. The joystick for the Ataris used to work on a Commodore 64 as well. So we go over and they'd load in, say, Ghostbusters. It was on tape, and you'd load in by tape onto the Commodore 64. Didn't load, go again. Didn't load, go again. Drive yourself fucking mad. Does it load? It loads. Yeah, you're playing this like super basic game. So that was how I started. Then my next console was the NES. Had, as you say, what came in the NES that stage was the Mario Duck Hunt Duo cartridge. Mm-hmm. Everyone had that. You got the Zapper, which was cool. Had that, loved that. Bought like a good few games for that. Like, even like, there you go, perfect. Yeah. Even like, and then I just followed it. I like Richie, went to every console, had the Super NES. Didn't have the Sega. What was kind of good was my cousin then had the Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah.
And before that, my friend had the Master System or whatever it was, Sega. So always got to play every console. Really toyed. I wanted, actually, there a couple of years ago, my wife got me the original Game Boy because I never had an original Game Boy, and she got me that, which was great to get. I didn't go N64. I betrayed my loyalty. Yeah, I got the PlayStation. I went up to the local video store, and they used to rent a lot of games out.
Mm.
And I used to rent games like Richie as well. And I just got, I think was playing Wipeout. And like the game has like licensed music, like the Prodigy and everything in it, and it just
Oh
blew
yeah.
my mind. It was so fast, it looked incredible.
Mm.
The music was insane. I was like, "This is it. It's the new CD. This is
Mm,
it."
mhm.
Jumped to PlayStation. Had a PlayStation 2. Then I betrayed PlayStation, went to Xbox.
Of
I had
course,
two.
yeah.
I had
360, man.
yeah.
360.
That's it. Had two 360s. Got the Red Ring of Death. Then got a
Mm,
second
mm,
360. Then got a third 360 because I got a slim one then or something like that. And
mm.
then after that, then I hopped back to PlayStation. Sorry,
PS4, yeah, yeah.
PS4
You had
because
to, yeah.
people I know were on that. And
Mm.
then PS5, and like that, like I have this like retro obsession a little bit as well. But I'm not going to bankrupt my family over cartridges that are like 80, 90, $100,
Mm.
euros, whatever. So I bought this online,
Oh
a small
yes.
handheld emulator.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm. Mm.
but I love it. Like I'm playing all just old Sega Mega Drive games, Nintendo,
Mm.
Super Nintendo, bit of N64. That's it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So, like for the last just decade at least, it's just been first person shooters. That's why I'm hating this. I'm loving and hating this topic because I exclusively play first person shooters and
Oh
have
wow.
done for the longest time. So, and
Okay.
I
part of
had
that
no
is,
idea.
yeah, see, part of
Okay.
that is
Yeah.
because
I think we're in
you,
trouble.
yeah, and it's all multiplayer because you can
Hmm.
drop in and out so quick. So anyway, we'll get
Hmm.
into all the meat and bones of that later on, but that is my long history. It's the same as Richie's, really. You
Yeah.
know, a
Yeah.
very,
I
very
really, I really
similar.
think it's interesting that like everyone kind of had the same thing where they were with the Nintendo consoles, and obviously, I agree with the fact that PlayStation was a more powerful, probably a better console. They had
Well,
the
it was
likes of Final
32
Fantasy VII.
bit, and
Yeah.
the 64 is 64 bit. And I remember back
Mm.
then, everyone's counting the bits as if it made a
Mm.
bloody bit of
Mm.
difference, really.
Mm.
But it was that jump where 32 and 64, you're kind of going, it's negligible.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Whereas 8 to
Well,
16 was huge,
oh yeah, absolutely. And then
you
that
know?
started to not matter. And I think the PlayStation was better. I personally thought the N64 had better games, but I think PlayStation was definitely a better console. But then everyone went, PS2,
Yeah,
360,
yeah,
PS4. It's
that's
so
it.
funny that everyone
Yeah.
went that same way because the Xbox One wasn't great
No,
and the PlayStation 3 wasn't great. So it was like you're jumping ship based on which console is
that's
better the
it.
whole way.
Yeah,
Like, it just,
all the way. And even I loved that time of video games because you had shows like Games Master and like all,
mm,
these kind of like Saturday daytime TV shows about games and competitions, and you'd
yeah.
watch those shows to see the trailers for
Oh,
the new
yeah.
game. And I remember watching the puff piece, the promotional
Mm,
stuff for the N64 with my
mm,
cousin,
mm,
and being blown away by Killer Instinct,
yeah.
the footage of that.
Oh,
And like I
yeah.
remember us literally saying to each other, that is so lifelike.
Mm-hmm.
Like we couldn't fathom how this looks so real. And it's like you look
You,
at it
th-
now,
you think that
going,
video games
what?
couldn't look any better? Yeah, you think they
Yeah,
couldn't look any
yeah,
better?
It's the
No, yeah,
peak.
it's
It's
yeah.
the peak, baby.
Yeah, this peak, it's
yeah,
never going to get any better. We've reached it. This is virtual reality. It's like, nah, it sucks.
yeah.
But like, Chris, we're rabbiting on here. How about you?
So, yeah, video games in my childhood were a big thing. Growing up in Alaska, being stuck inside for months on end, that
Hmm.
was like one of the only alternatives you could turn to without just losing your mind. Also, that coupled with my brother was an absolute video game fanatic. He was probably like Richie, where he was devouring everything. He got the subscriptions to the magazines. He would walk around yapping constantly about like the ins and outs of it. So much so that we started calling him Polygon because his name's Paul, and we wish he was gone. So it's like, go away, Polygon.
That's
I don't know.
good.
I don't
That's
know.
good.
I play the game and then I turn it off and I could hear. So I was like, okay, I like video games. A lot of times I was like that original kind of viewer of Twitch because we'd have a bunch of boys around, a bunch of the chimps, and I ended up watching like the single player sessions from just sitting there
Mm,
with them, and I'd watch them play
yeah.
Resident Evil, watch them play Tomb Raider, things like that. So I was like, yeah, sometimes I'd play, but I actually just enjoyed the camaraderie and just kind of hanging out more than
Mm-hmm.
actually playing them. But
That's
my
great.
first memory of video games, it was very distinct. In Alaska, we visited another Irish family And this is like 7 years old, something like that. But I show up, walk in the living room, and there's the girls controlling the character on the TV. I'm like, what is this? It's
Mm.
Mario on Nintendo,
Mm.
but the concept of being able to control the person on the TV, I didn't know that was a thing. And then they went, if you think that's cool, they pulled out the gun that Richie has, and they're like now shooting ducks. And I'm like, my God. And it was just a mind-blowing experience for me. Then yeah, same you guys, the Nintendo 64 is probably like my favorite era of it because we got the PlayStation afterward, but really them sessions on WCW World Tour and WrestleMania 2000, the GoldenEye, which I can see is on repeat intro behind Richie. Those were the jams, you know. I still play to this day. I got a PlayStation 4, maybe play 2 games a year.
Mm.
I'm a big fan of first person shooters. I'm also a fan of like the Batman, Spider-Man, those kind of
Mm.
Uncharted games. But that's
Mm.
about it. Like I don't like for me, films are my relaxing kind
Of
of
course.
refuge.
Yeah.
But video games every once in a while. When the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, I might be jumping on that little puppy because I got an 8-year-old son who's primed for that. And I think that's my time to dip back in and listen to Polygon number 2 get obsessed with all the video games, and I'll be pestered by a new generation. So yeah, that's my background in video
Oh,
games.
that's amazing. That's really
Love
cool.
it. Yeah.
So before I ask these morons what their selection is, I want to ask the listeners and the viewers. If you have an opinion, a very strong opinion at that, let us know in the comments. And then let us know at the very end what you think of the selection that we've taken. All right, guys, let's get started. All right, now we move into the nomination phase. So, how we normally do this is we do the round robin system of taking each turn nominating something that we believe should be going on to the Mount Rushmore of first person shooters. And I got to be honest, we got a pretty stacked deck of selectors here. We've got the curator of video games, Richie, and then we've got the first person expert, Paul Bush. I think we're going to start with the expert here. Paul, what is your first nomination for the Mount Rushmore of first person shooters?
Okay, so I'm going to bring it all the way back because to me, this is a must include. In fact, all 4 are must includes, but we'll argue that later. This is the granddaddy of them all, but not quite the granddaddy of them all. This is Doom. So
hell yeah, motherfucker, yeah, get on it, yes. All right, sorry.
I think Richie likes Doom too. That's good. That's good news. Good news. Good news. Probably one of the most famous video games of all time, not just the most famous first-person shooter. So look, released in 1993, it was delivered by id Software, and it pretty much revolutionized the gaming industry. Now, in fairness, it was a follow-up to a first-person shooter called Wolfenstein 3D. Wolfenstein 3D was actually the third Wolfenstein game. The first 2 were sort of like just flat, like nearly like Mario games or top-down games. So Wolfenstein 3D was released in 1992, and while they were working on the sequel for that, another bunch of members of the team were working on Doom. My first experience of the game was in my cousin's house, and it came as shareware. I don't know if you guys ever remember shareware. So you'd buy a PC magazine or PC gaming magazine, and you'd get like floppy disks or whatever, and it was essentially like demos. So you're a Doom guy, and you go around shooting demons and monsters, and you've got like a stacked selection of guns that are kick-ass. Rocket launchers. You got your BFG, the big fucking gun.
Oh yeah.
Like it was super fast, super smooth, super dynamic. There was nothing else like it. 32 years on, it still holds up. Like I'll still play this game. So I remember getting it on PlayStation, and like PlayStation's a controller, but they even like were able to map the game. That was actually my first experience playing first person shooter on a controller, and I didn't think it would work. Even as like a young kid, I was used to using a PC, and then I got it. I was like, oh my God, they got it to work on a PlayStation. And even that, like, I feel that they were the ones that got that to work. They opened the door for first person shooters on consoles. it is also known for its kick-ass soundtrack, and as everyone knows, like the latest Dooms all have incredible metal soundtracks that you can just listen to on Spotify, which are fucking awesome.
It established video games as a serious entertainment medium, because it was always seen as like Mario Brothers and Atari stuff and Pac-Man, but like Doom coming out just changed everyone's perspective, and it did pave the way forward for first-person shooters, for gaming in general. It really just changed everything. Like, and everything you said was absolutely spot on. I really like those modern Dooms as well. Are fantastic because they retain everything that's great about the original Doom, but they made it modern. Like, and as you said, with that metal soundtrack, and it's so intense, it kind of reminds me of playing those Doom games, those new Doom games. Do you ever see that scene in The Simpsons when Milhouse Boys bone storm the video game, and Bart can see from his room that the light is shining through that he's playing, and he walks in and he's like, the impact of the game is just swarming his hair back, and it's like it's the most intense experience ever. And he's like, I've only just put my name in. You know, that's what it feels like to play Doom. You play one round of those new Dooms, like with like, you know, just go through one ambush of enemies or whatever, and after it, you're just like shaking and the adrenaline is fine. And that's what Doom kind of always had. I love the fact that you said like playing it as well on other consoles. Every console I get, I bought Doom. I have it on my Steam Deck. I have it on my Switch. I have it on my PS5. I have it on everything, and it runs well on everything.
Yeah.
For me, it's just a comfort game as well. Like, we actually had Wolfenstein was installed on our computers in our primary school. For some reason, there was a code you could put in to play Wolfenstein.
Amazing.
So I actually played Wolfenstein first, but then when I got access to Doom, I just couldn't believe that a game like this actually existed, where you could just like it just felt like 20 years ahead of itself, like, you know. There was one other thing on Doom as well, which I think Chris will find very interesting, is because of whatever way the source code works, and they've released the source code and it's all out there, and apparently it's like a coder's delight. There's this ongoing meme with Doom where it's like, what things can they run Doom on? I don't know if you've seen this, Chris. So I've made a list of all of these wacky things that people have actually installed and put this Doom game on. So you've got iPod Classic, Apple Watch, and it's pretty straightforward. Someone recently put it on a PDF file. So you open a PDF file and you can play Doom on a PDF file. Gets a little bit more wacky after that. A Samsung washing machine, so the little LED screen that's on that. A Porsche 911, a parking kiosk. You can play it on Minecraft, so you can install Doom inside of actual Minecraft. Someone installed it on a treadmill, on a vape, on a karaoke machine, on a pregnancy test, on a MacBook Pro, but not on the MacBook Pro, on the actual touch bar of the MacBook Pro, so it just runs fucking Doom. Someone installed it on a chainsaw, so like the little screen on like those fancy chainsaws, it's on that, and someone installed it on a microwave. So like that is kind of the impact that Doom has. It kind of become the like, will it run Crisis with the PCs? It's like, what can I get to run Doom? Because it's such a phenomenon, people just want to see it. And I know it's a joke. You're not going to play Doom on a pregnancy test, but the fact that you can is absolutely hilarious. Like, but yeah, I love Doom. It's near and dear to the heart. It's a comfort game. It's nostalgia. We wouldn't be having this conversation without Doom, I don't think.
But it also sounds like if it doesn't make the list, you can actually install it on an emotional support USB key. So like you can play it on the key. There you go.
Oh, phenomenal.
Spare a slot on the mount then. It's all good.
But one of the other things that you did touch on it there, Richie, is like the legacy aspect of Doom. Because they released the source code, they released the code out, the modding community could get involved with the game, sort of modding the game and changing the game or doing things with the game. And then they continued that when they released Quake. And like, it's the same company, like those like three iconic games, like you got Wolfenstein, Doom, Quake, and like Quake was I remember like getting into Quake, and Quake was like the modding community on Quake was insane, and like that just sort of blew my mind. I'd be at home like on a 28.8K modem downloading fucking mods for
Doom. For Quake,
Quake. God knows what I was installing on my parents' computer, like.
There's one other small thing with Doom as well. Like, I'm a big fan of like speedrunning in the speedrunning community, which I think I mentioned before. And I used to speedrun like all Resident Evil games and stuff like that. And I'm fascinated.
So hang on, are you talking about actually like a video game thing, or just like fast walking like Malcolm in the Middle?
It would be basically to get the world record for like finishing a particular level in Doom's case, or finishing the whole game. It all depends. Like on, like for example, Mario 64 is probably the biggest game in the speedrunning community at the moment, and they have different tiers. So we have like get 120 stars, which is 100% completion, get 72 stars, get 16 stars, get 1 star. So there's different kind of ones. It's the same with Doom. They'd have individual like segmented levels you'd get records for, and you'd have full completions. And there's a guy I follow on YouTube, Carl Jobs, his name is, an Australian guy. He's really, really good YouTuber. He covers a lot of the speedrunning stuff. And he started doing a lot of Doom stuff. And listening to him talk about how they've actually broken this game and how this game works, it makes you appreciate it even more. Like, because even talking about, okay, this was the record that was set in 1997. It stood for 20 years. And, you know, only last year they broke it, and this is how they do it. And it might be something really simple, is they'll take out a task, which is basically like a tool assisted run, which basically means you go in on an emulated version of Doom and you basically manually put in the exact inputs to do the best run. This is getting so nerdy. Sorry, to do the best run that you possibly can. And then you would then see whether a human could actually do that. But you'd know, okay, the exact best time on this level is 3 minutes and 21 point whatever. But human has only ever done 3:17. So we have 4 seconds there that we can try and map up. And he would actually detail how people did it. And it was like, well, this guy figured out, instead of walking into this room, we would actually walk into an enemy and take damage, and they would boost you an extra couple of frames that would give you that boost, that would give you those extra couple of milliseconds. And that's the type of stuff I really enjoy, because it's shown like the levels that Doom has, that people are still out there trying to break records like 30 years later. Like, you know what I mean? It's incredible.
And if you didn't have Dune, you wouldn't have the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson adaptation. The legacy continues.
Absolutely.
Have you guys seen that film?
Yeah.
Yes. They had that one sequence in first person that was quite fun at the end.
I enjoy that bit.
Yeah.
They did a Doom 2. It was a Doom 2 Annihilation. There's actually there's an okay action sequence in that too as well.
Okay.
All
Isn't
right.
Carl Urban in that as well?
Not the sequel, but the first one, yeah.
Oh, he's in the first one, yeah.
He's in the first one, yeah.
Let's move on to Richie now. What do you got for us?
Okay, so I was going to pick Doom, so I'm happy you picked that. Like, but I'm going to pick another one that's near and dear. All the ones I'm picking are ones that really kind of, I feel, have kind of carried the games industry and revolutionized, as Paul said, what it is. I want to talk about Halo. So I got an Xbox in the I got an Xbox in the 2000s. I had no idea what Halo was. I was working in Tesco's part-time, and my manager at the time was like, you should get an Xbox. They're kick-ass. I went and got one. Went into the local game in the city centre. I had 50 quid to buy a game. And the guy in game was like, you have to buy this Halo game. I'm like, man, what are you talking about? He was like, no, seriously, get it. I got it. I went home and played it, and it blew my mind. Never played a game like it in my life. And I think the bit that always stands out to me for the original Halo was when, after you get through the initial start, you crash land on the actual Halo. For anyone that doesn't know, the Halo itself is a whole planet that's shaped like a halo that curves all the way around. So when you're standing on land, you can look up and you can see land on the top that goes all the way around in one perfect circle. And you're basically humans fighting against this alien race, the Covenant. It's fairly basic, even though the story tries to go as depth as it can, but that's what it is. It's just humans against aliens. And they're using this Halo, which is a weapon that can destroy universes and planets, kind of like Star Wars and stuff. Played the first Halo, absolutely loved it, blew my mind. What really grabbed me, and the game I actually want to nominate, is Halo 2. And there's a reason why I think Halo 2, I think it just, it changed everything. It's a genre defining. It changed what first person shooters are on consoles. It basically did what they were doing on PC on consoles, because it introduced the online aspect of it as well. It was the very first game that people really jumped on online. It was the first game I ever played a game of online as well, was Halo 2. So it actually started with, we had Halo 2, we had our Xboxes. Myself and a mate got two tiny little TVs. He got one from his house, I had one from my sister's bedroom. We went down to the kitchen in my mom's room, we put them back to back, we got a system link cable, and we played a game of Halo against each other. We couldn't believe that we were playing a real game where I couldn't see him. It wasn't split screen or any of that bullshit. We were actually playing a real game. And we started to do it with groups. We'd get like 6 or 7 lads, get a bunch of TVs, do a LAN party and whatever else. Got an Xbox 360, and a guy I was working with at the time was like, you can get Xbox Live, and if you get broadband, you can go and play this online. I was like, what? Like a PC, like the internet cafes that I used to go to? I can just do that at home on my TV. That's incredible. So I did that. I got broadband. I got BT broadband that had to be installed in my parents' living room, and I had to run a LAN cable all the way up my parents' stairs, a big yellow one, wrap it around the banisters, put it under my door, stick it into the Xbox, and I was online. And I was so you know, so happy to be online playing a video game that I actually got my parents and my brother and sister to come up to my bedroom and sit and watch me play the first match in Halo 2. And I was like, look, guys, I'm against real people. I'm fighting real people here. So it had a huge impact on me. And I think that ushered that whole era of like, especially the 360, where like that was the first console where everyone got online, and it was onto a lot of the games we're going to talk about now were heavily influenced by what Halo 2 did. Now, obviously, Halo 3 ended up being the bigger title. It finished the trilogy. I probably played more Halo 3 than I did Halo 2 because it came out on the 360. All my friends were online. Halo 2 was an original Xbox game, so it did kind of get lost in that shuffle a little bit. But I do feel like that's a better game. It has a really strong story. You play as, but Master Chief is the hero. You play as this alien guy from the Covenant as well, the Arbiter, which was a little bit controversial. People didn't really like playing as him, but I think it worked. I think it was a really good story. Obviously, the online was where it was at. But they introduced a lot of cool mechanics as well. Like, for example, the dual wield. We'd never seen that in a game before, where you could basically, the first time you shoot an alien with your handgun, you walk up and you pick up his handgun, and now you're holding like your own handgun and an alien dude's handgun in your hand at the same time, and you're dual wielding both. Just blows your mind, or you see an alien vehicle that you can shoot down, get in the vehicle, and you can fly up in the sky. You're like this is a video game. I didn't know you could do these things in video games. And to be honest, after that, Halo just dominated my life for at least 5 or 10 years after that. Recently, because just the standard has dropped a little bit. Halo Infinite had a good run on it, but like I feel like didn't really have the support that it should have had, and it kind of fell off a little bit. Hasn't really been good since maybe Halo Reach back in the day, but like I was crazy. Like, even I know you guys love show and tell. I've got my Master Chief special edition. I have all the special editions. I have the special edition controllers. Like this, like Halo wasn't my life for a long time, but it did all start with Halo 2. And I feel like even though Halo 3 and Halo Reach are probably better games, I think Halo 2's impact is what springboarded those titles. So I'd like to nominate Halo 2.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Very strong.
Halo was also impactful on me too. So
okay.
This is then I'm not in Alaska anymore. I'm now in Ireland. I'm in Dublin. I haven't played video games in a while, but I was pretty good at GoldenEye. And then I go to a friend's house and they're playing Halo 2, and they're like, "Hey, look, we're now playing against people around the world. There's just go online." I'm like, roll up my sleeves. All right, let me dust this off. I'll show you who can do what. There's no peeking anymore. And then I get absolutely trounced, just wrecked immediately. And then that gave me the moment of going, oh, okay. The gaming has left me by. I have not been keeping up. The level of skill I was going up against, I was probably getting smashed by Richie for all I know.
Probably not.
There's this guy running in circles, and I was like, "Oh man, I used to peek all the time. If I can't peek, I'm no good at this." So, for me, I didn't play much of it because anytime I did, it was the online one, and I was just getting smoked alive by 5-year-olds, and I was like, "Okay, we have now entered a new era of video games, and I'm not sure if I can keep up with these guys." So yeah, that's my background with Halo 2.
The whole thing like that, and that's a really good example. It was such a cultural thing where like everyone got involved in Halo, and even got to the point where like other video game franchises that were coming out were trying to be Halo. Like this first person shooter, this is the Halo beater, or like there'd be some car game with guns. It'd be like, oh, it's Halo with cars. And there's actually quite a funny one. There was a poker game released in the States with Daniel Negreanu called Stacked. And one of the headlines on the back of it from Maxim magazine is Halo with chips, like Halo with poker chips. Like, and it's like just literally like 0 cents. But like everyone was just like, this is the Halo of poker games. This is the Halo of this. This is the Halo of that. Because at that point in the early 2000s, every motherfucker wanted to be Halo.
This is like the Die Hard effect, where like Die Hard was such an impactful action film that people would go, "Oh, this is Die Hard on a bus," and it was like, we're going to be qualifying this by this is Die Hard. Insert new dynamic, thrilling moment with the protagonist.
That's funny. And it was either like everybody was like, "You're either Halo or you're nothing." For a while, it's funny how quickly it dropped off.
And the sad thing is, it's like I got on board really with Halo 3, and I'll always remember the last mission in Halo 3. You're on the Warthog. I don't remember that mission. You're like,
oh my god, it's incredible.
The music is so epic, and you're like freaking out, and like the platform's falling, and you're jumping, and it's incredible. Like, and one thing, and I'm going to talk about it. Another nomination, actually, my favorite first-person shooter ever. And talk about it in that, but like the way Halo figured out how to tell a compelling story, but not overwhelm you with that story, and have the story feel part of what you were doing.
I know what game it is. I know what game it is. I know what game you're going to say. No, I'll wait until you say it. I know what game you're going to say. Sorry.
I don't know. But no, I loved Halo, and I agree with you guys. But like, I was the Halo 3 era. I think that's because I had a 360. I think Halo 3 was on 360. I loved Reach. I played ODST, and then I just fell off then because obviously I went to PlayStation. I have a PC for gaming, but I'd never bothered getting Halo on it for. Oh, actually, I did. Do you know what? I installed it. I played it for half an hour and I stopped. Halo Infinite.
Halo Infinite had a lot of potential, and like they introduced a grappling hook, which completely changed the gameplay mechanics and actually worked. The problem is they just didn't support it. They called it Halo Infinite because this was going to be their new live service thing. They were going to support this with all updates, and they didn't. They just fell off a cliff.
They became derivative. They used to be the innovators, and I think the reason they were the innovators were they were doing something. It's like that thing. It was on a new platform with like that thing of like, oh, now I can go online. So it was all new, and they were there for it, and they innovated in that space. And like, but see, I was like playing in video game cafes before that. I was playing like, other games, online multiplayer games, and like for me, that was a step down. To go to online on an Xbox. It was like, this is clunky, this is slow, it's not as good. But like by the time I got to 360, it was like, okay, this is working now. This is really working.
And for a lot of people, for 360 especially, like when they hooked that up like I did, it was the first time they'd ever done anything like that. And they like a lot of these people didn't have their finger on the pulse with like PC and gaming in general. And people didn't even realize you could go online and play matches. So it was like it was blowing people's minds.
But they made it accessible, and that was the thing. And then they were innovating in that space. And then, as you say, there's Halo Infinite, and like I'm not going to give away when I'm talking my later nomination, but again, that piece around. It was like, Jesus, these guys are like copying other games. They're not setting the standard anymore. Like no one's going, this is the Halo of whatever anymore. That monarch has gone now. Like,
so this is like when Casino Royale came out and they were like, oh, you're doing Jason Bourne. Yeah, exactly. But Jason Bourne is a play on James Bond, JB. Why are you copying the person who's like innovated past you?
That's it.
That's
exactly. That's it.
I think what kind of happened is like they were Bungie and then they went to 343, and I think 343 did a good job. They released some great games, but you're losing that original team, and eventually that's just like a lot has changed as well.
But I don't even mind losing the original team because like that team did something innovative at the time. But like what really worked against Halo was other games were getting faster. And you jump on Halo and you're like, oh my God, moving so slow.
Yeah, and I think a lot of how I feel about a lot of the picks that I have, it is nostalgia. Like the first time opening, was it the level? Is it Blood Gulch? I think it's called. It's the level with the two bases, and you've got like the little grass terrain in between. It's a cave you can go. It's probably the most memorable Halo game, and there's a banshee on each side, so you can decide: will I go by the cave? Will I walk old school, or go in the Warhawk, or will I go up in the plane?
Well, look,
and you play capture the flag.
The level behind me, is it?
Oh, it is. Oh, that's so cool. And you play capture the flag with that level, and it's incredible because they're like, they have the flag. They're on the Warhog. We got to get in this banshee. We got to chase after them, and like that. Like that's some of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. Like, anyway, we talked about Halo for so long. I'm sorry, Chris.
No, it sounds awesome. Yeah, like look, honestly, it would be great. I think I just needed a bit more time to actually get my reps in instead of just getting smashed early on. But no, so for my nomination of the Mount Rushmore of first-person shooters, I'm going to go with Duke Nukem 3D.
Wow.
So yeah, you brought in Doom.
Love it.
1993. Love it. I'm going to go with Doom with a personality. 1996 Duke Nukem 3D. Like, I absolutely loved this. I played this on the computer. I did play Doom, absolutely loved it, but there was something about Duke Nukem, like even like the controversialness of it, like my gosh, like I'm not even sure I'm old enough or should be allowed to play this, but this is like kind of early on before my parents really knew they should be keeping an eye out on what content it goes on video games. But it was amazing. It was so cutting edge, so ahead of its time. It was playing with like postmodern concepts and even doing inside jokes where like he'd walk up to an arcade and the arcade would say Duke Nukem and he would turn around and say, I have no time to play with myself. And he'd continue walking. Things like this. It's basically what would happen if Bruce Campbell from Army of Darkness was in a first-person shooter from 1996. So it was absolutely fun. It had a lot of the attributes flat out taken from Doom, but I just always loved the cheekiness, the controversial nature, and the gameplay, of course, but just the personality that it had. And I think that actually set a major tone in not just first person shooters, but video games, because
Mm.
they really pushed the boundaries for what they could even get away with in 1996. So I love Dune, absolutely great game, but I think I played Duke Nukem 3D more just because I just wanted to explore all the inside jokes, the gags, go into the cinema, start shooting like shooting the walls, shooting whatever I could find. Maybe they were a bit too heavy on the pass keys because that was a thing they loved in these
They
games,
love
right?
passkeys. That's
From
it.
like Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, Duke Nukem, it was all like get the green pass key to open the green door, get the yellow pass key. It was like this is the only thing we need to do, and it was like the sign of the times. So yeah, for me, Duke Nukem
I
3D.
love that. I love that nomination. Love it. And I had it on my long list. It's not in my top four, but again, that feeling, I remember playing that video game in the back room of my house. And like, it's that classic thing of when you're younger, your parents don't really care about violence. So it's like, oh yeah, come watch me
Right.
play Doom. It's just like blowing up monsters and blood everywhere and guts. But he's gone, he's, saying dirty shit or he's saying dodgy, that kind of way. And
You can
like,
go to a
And
strip
strippers
club.
in it.
you go to strip
You go
club,
to a
yeah.
strip club. I
I
went
know,
to a
I
strip
know.
club. Yeah.
But like, and I'm not surprised this is on your list, Chris, at all, because like it is such a movie nerd's, game, and like the whole thing was like lifting quotes from various movies. Come Get Some, Army of Darkness, uh, Damn, I'm Good, Ace Ventura, Damn, You're Ugly, Predator, uh, Do or Do Not, There Is No Try, Yoda, uh,
Yoda.
Die, You Son of a Bitch, Jaws. Go Ahead, Make My Day, Dirty Harry, Groovy, Evil Dead 2. So yeah, it was just like it was such a nerd's
Incredible. That's
passion
incredible.
project. Like the people making it, they were probably us, but they could code. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, for real. It was like a couple of years later, I started listening to rap music, and it had the language in that was so vulgar that when my parents would walk in the room, we'd have to pause it because God forbid they actually hear what we're listening to. This was a very, very early version of that with the games
Yeah.
where it's like, maybe I should pause this while they're in the room because I'm not sure they really want me playing this kind of thing. And there was something really fun and exciting about it at that age playing that game. So yeah, for sure. Duke Nukem 3D. I'm getting the feeling though that one of these is going to end up on a USB emotional support stick.
It,
It has a
I love,
place in my heart, that game.
yeah, I love it. I
Yes.
love it.
All right. So moving back on to Paul Bush. What do you
Ooh.
got for us next on the Mount Rushmore of first-person shooters?
Certainly changed games for me, and I think the whole world. And it's 2007's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. I know COD is sort of like a franchise that's been like just feels like it's been run into the ground, like with daily.
The new one's really good though. The Black
Is
Ops
it?
is really good. Yeah, it's
Okay.
really really good. Yeah, yeah.
Even
It's the
like
first
I'm
one
jaded.
it's the first one I prestige since Call of Duty 4.
Okay, but
Yeah,
maybe
so there you
maybe
go.
I'll get it. Maybe I'll get it. But like I am sort of like jaded from Call of Duty. Every year there's
Mm,
another one. I think at this stage, what, three studios make
mm,
Call of Duty? Is it in a rotation?
mm.
But like I think it was such an innovative game. Like I used to play Medal of Honor on PC, and then PlayStation, whatever. But like I think it was that team who were making Medal of Honor went off, and then they made Call of Duty. And again, the first three games were World War II period films, and it felt like there was that like 6 years in video games where everything was a World War II first person
Mhm.
shooter, and like everyone wanted to make their version of the Normandy uh, beach, but then they made this, and I think it just changed everything. The modern weapons, the speed of it, the perk system. It had a kick-ass cinematic story that was like adult. My favorite mission in the game, I can't remember the name of the mission, but you have like a sniper rifle, and like you have to shoot a
Yeah.
guy and adjust for wind and all this kind of shit.
Mm,
And I loved that. COD at that time was able to evoke emotion in you, stress, panic.
mhm,
You
mhm.
sort of cared about the characters. It was bigger than anything you'd ever seen. And I think it has stood the test of time. Like I've COD installed on my PS5, like COD 4, Modern Warfare 1. I have that installed, and like doesn't do updates, which is great. So when I go online to play a game, invariably there's a fucking 50 gig update that has to happen. I knock on Modern Warfare and I play that.
Mm.
And like, there's nothing better than going in and just, playing a little bit of a multiplayer game, and you have the grenade launcher underneath your M16, and it's like spam grenades. But like but like again, it's another one that did revolutionize the multiplayer, online, especially in the console space. So it not only did it do the campaign single player, but the multiplayer complemented that and nearly spun off out of that and created a whole
there
new
was
thing.
so many great things as well with like the multiplayer. Like, do you remember your first nuke or your first like
Yeah.
chopper gunner and stuff like that?
All
Like,
these
just to
things.
get to that point where you get the UAV, sorry, and then you get the homing missile. And you're like, well, I just need to get to 25 kills so I can get the chopper gunner. And it's just like you've never had that in games before.
No.
You're laddering up and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
I get this skill streak.
And customizing your weapon, like it brought in so much stuff that we take for granted today. I got hooked on it. I played it tons, and I was one of those people that turned up for the midnight release of Modern Warfare 2. So, it like, it redefined the genre. What's that, 2007? That's 18 years ago, which is scary. But but like it's still relevant to today, So that's my nomination.
Yeah, really, really, really excellent choice. Like I can't argue too much with that. I think it changed everything. I think the likes of Halo walked so Call of Duty could run, like, and I think that it really did run with it. And as you said, it has kind of been running to the ground. I think they've tried different things like Warzone and stuff like that, which has helped a little bit.
I don't mind Warzone, yeah.
Warzone is fine, and Black Ops is really good. The campaign is good. The multiplayer is good.
And look, they innovate with zombies. The zombies mode was incredible,
there you go, and I think that, like, if you were going as a Mount Rushmore as franchises, you would definitely put Call of Duty because it has stood the test of time. But I think Call of Duty 4 is definitely the best one, and it's the one that we all played the most. Everyone prestige, everyone finished the multiplayer. The single player campaign, as the game's nearly 20 years old, I can say it had a really good twist in it as well, which really just grabbed you. When that happened, you were like, oh my God. Like,
God.
Like most, like there's one or two, and I'm sure they're going to come up where the single player campaign in the first person shooter is great, but a lot of these ones where it is mainly multiplayer focused, the campaign's usually dog shit, But this campaign wasn't. This campaign was really good. And I played through it, and then I played through it again on veterans, that kind of way. And during that era I mentioned where I got my Xbox 360 and I had Halo 2, I got Call of Duty 2 and I was playing that, but it was very much, as you said, World War II with one gun, and I think it was 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, whatever it is, and it was very basic, but I loved it because I'd never played anything like that. But then Call of Duty 3 and 4 was like shots of adrenaline. It just changed everything. I think it's like, again, another reason why we're having this conversation is because of games like Call of Duty 4.
I actually have a distinct memory of that because I was working in bars in Dublin at the time, and I had this one flatmate who was just constantly stoned. And I remember him playing that, and I was like, aren't you like going to work like today? And he's like, oh yeah. And he took this giant joint, smoked the entire thing, and then just got up and just went to the bar. Like, I was like, I do not understand how you could do that.
Jesus.
And you beat me in Call of Duty. I was like, how are you stomping me with this? So yeah, I have a distinct memory of just watching this guy going, how is this? How are you not flat on your face after that? Yeah. Okay, next up, Richie, what do you got for the Mount Rushmore of first-person shooters?
Okay, so my next pick is, well, we've gone banger after banger after banger after banger, and obviously Duke Nukem's in there as well. But anyway, so
how dare you?
I'm gonna stick to a banger. I'm gonna stick in with one of the best, maybe to last. I'm talking about probably one of the most important video games of all time. One of my favorite video games, maybe in my top 5. I'm going to talk about Half-Life 2. I absolutely love Half-Life 2. Half-Life in general, the franchise, Valve, all the games that have come out of that have had a huge impact on me. And for anyone that hasn't played Half-Life, if you've lived under a rock, basically the first game is set in a research facility called Black Mesa, where the protagonist is a guy called Gordon Freeman, who's like a research scientist, and basically an experiment goes wrong. They open up this trans-dimensional portal that opens up, all these aliens come through, the research facility falls apart, and you just have to escape. At the end of the first game, you meet this mysterious guy called the G-Man who offers you a job. You take the job. He basically freezes you for 20 years. 20 years later, you get woken up, and it's Half-Life 2. he has a new job for you. These alien species, the Combine, have invaded Earth, and you basically have to go and stop them. And that's the plot, the whole game. And you head out and do your bits. And the game itself, it really just it revolutionized everything about games. Like when you think about Half-Life, like it was like there's so many factors that like together just again, I know I've said it with a couple of other games, it really did change and shape the development of games forever. Everything that I did from, for example, the AI, like for a game that was released in 2004, the AI was so much more advanced than any other game. The enemies would actually respond to things you did in the environment, which you'd never seen before. That's all just normal now, but you didn't see that in games. But back then, that was completely new. They had a whole physics system that was just blow your mind, and then they completely cracked that open when they introduced a gravity gun in it, which basically means you could just manipulate anything in the environment with this gravity gun. Now that seems pretty straightforward now on today's gaming terms, but back in 2004, something like that had never been done before. This gravity gun is still one of the most kick-ass things you'll see in a video game. It's so important. And like I think for a game that, from an immersion and a narrative point of view, there's no cutscenes. The player character does not speak at all, but still it tells you a really compelling and interesting story just through dialogue with the characters that you miss, things you hear on the way, and the story is told through that. You're not fed some video, you're not fed some budget, you're not fed some writing script at the start. It's all just you walking around and you're consuming the story as you go, and they've written it perfectly and it works, and your character does not say a word, and I really appreciate that. And kind of like I said with Doom, Half-Life would be one I'd always go back to. I only played it again last year, and every couple of years I'll go to it. I think it's a really important game. It also shaped through mods and everything else. It shaped a lot of the most important games that are released now, like for example Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike all came from Half-Life. Counter-Strike 2 is the most played video game in the world at the moment. I checked the stats before today. There was 1.6 million people playing Counter-Strike 2 today on Steam. The nearest number to that was Dota 2, and it was 600,000. So it's double the second most played game in the world at the moment is a game called Counter-Strike 2, which came from a mod from Half-Life 2. That's the impact that Half-Life 2 had and Valve had. The game, it would be in my top 5 of all time. It is a superb game, back to back. It's just a masterpiece. I can't say enough about it. Also, very quickly, because it's just from it's a branch of that, big appreciation for the Portal franchise. I don't know if you guys have ever played that before, where it is more of a first-person puzzle game, but it's from Valve. It's set in the same universe as Half-Life, and it probably wouldn't be one of my favorite games of all time if both games weren't so short. So I think a big love for everything that has come out of that. Even more recently, like there's a lot of rumors going around about Half-Life 2, but Half-Life 3 potentially coming out. I think it will probably actually come out. I think Valve are actually working on something. But they released a VR game a couple of years ago called Half-Life Alyx, which is the only time a VR game has ever been to the standard of modern video games. VR has always been a bit more of it's a bit of a gimmick. It's fun. I have a VR headset. It's good fun. It's nice to try, but you wouldn't sit there and play a whole game on it. You would with Half-Life Alyx because they have that physics stuff in it. They have a great story, and it's just Valve doing Valve shit, so the knock-on effect is there. And if you have access to a VR headset, I recommend playing Half-Life Alyx. I know I've gone off one, but I nominate Half-Life 2. Probably the most important video game, maybe of all time. There you go. Boom. Lock it in.
Boom.
Big words. Yeah. It was in Half-Life 1. Wasn't that the one with this elongated opening scene where like you're walking through and you're kind of living your day-to-day life, you're chatting to people? I remember that. My brother got that, and we were just watching this, and he's like, look at this. Like, you're just kind of like living. I was like, this is going forever. I love it. Like, it gives you everything you needed, and like it really took its time. There was confidence in doing a scene like that. It always resonated with me. I never saw that in a video game. I was like, wow, it doesn't go straight into it. Like, it really immerses you into the world, who these characters are. And then when the time is right, then the inciting incident occurs. So I always remember that for Half-Life as well.
Yeah, I was a big Half-Life 1 fan. And again, I remember running it on the home PC, and what Chris said there exactly, that whole opening scene, nothing had been done like that, captivated you, drew you in. Gameplay was cool, the guns were cool, sound effects were cool, those little grabby shits that jumped on your face were cool, kind of freaky as well, the zombie versions of people going around. Only played a bit of Half-Life 2, but I got more into the mod scene of that. Like I would have played a lot of Counter-Strike when I was younger, loved Team Fortress, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like many hours spent in internet cafes playing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, playing a lot of Counter-Strike, and but what I one thing just to harken back to something a bit older, Quake 2, going back to id Software and their modding community. Like they had a game called Action Quake 2, which was a mod of Quake 2 that made it, you had realistic guns and all that kind of stuff. And I think you could dual wield in this and you had snipers and all that kind of stuff, but it was a bit janky, But then I remember seeing Counter Strike and going, oh, my prayers have been answered.
Yeah.
It's a coherent, robust, perfect version of what Action Quake 2 had set out to be. So no, I love this nomination. Like, and we were going to have it definitely. Really
Good
good.
stuff. All right, so I'm up now, right?
100%.
That'd be the wackiest pick ever.
No, it's not. It's going to be what I would call the BFG, the best fucking game.
Oh.
Here we go. You guys know it already. You guys love it forever. It's Nintendo 64, based on a very popular IP. Yes, we're talking about South Park, the video game. The very first South Park game. You want to throw a snowball? Yes, you can. Do you want to throw a dodgeball? Sure, you can. Is there a walking piece of poop? Of course there is. No, I'm not. It is not that. But
you can also
I
piss
did
on a
own
snowball
it
and throw a piss snowball if you want. You can throw a normal snowball or a pea snowball, whichever you prefer.
Power up for
No, it is not that. It's GoldenEye. It is 100%.
I was going to go with you with
Nintendo.
South Park. I was going to go with you. I was like, fuck it, why not?
No, with South Park, my history of that was I sold at a garage sale to some guy in Alaska, and he came back an hour later going, "They're cursing in this." I was like, "It's South Park." This little shithead kid trying to screw him over. No, the one is 100% GoldenEye. It has to. This has to go onto the mound. This is where I probably spent most of my video game experience collectively in the wilderness of the winters of Alaska. Four idiots in the same room, huddled around a small TV, yelling at each other about peeking. No peeking. I wasn't peeking. I see you in the toilet. No, I'm not in the toilet. You knew that I was in the toilet. My mom would walk in the room and be like, "Why are you guys always shouting at each other?" And it's not only GoldenEye, it's the multiplayer, it's the facility, it's Golden Gun, and nobody can play Odd Job. Even years later, decades later, I know the rules and I can map that myself. Yeah. I could walk into a virtual reality world with a blind, like with my eyes closed and just find every single area. I know exactly what that level is like. So the full game is fantastic as well, but that is the one that 100% got pretty much every kid of our generation into multiplayer first-person shooters. You do have your Dooms, you have your Duke Nukem 3Ds, Richie, and then you had this. And I think this was like that another level where people went, what can you do when you're actually fighting each other and exploring it? So the gameplay was fantastic. I mean, years. I even in Dublin, when I was living in Dublin, I went to Rage Records, which was the shop that sold secondhand video game equipment, and I bought a Nintendo 64 and GoldenEye for the weekend because I just wanted to play it again. And I don't think I've ever done that.
That's amazing.
I don't have the the avalanche of nostalgia like Richie does when video games in your closet, but I did for that weekend. I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play GoldenEye. So yeah, it is GoldenEye. It has to be there. The BFG of first-person shooters.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, I have a lot of core memories with GoldenEye. Like, and it was the same as you. It would be like huddle up around the TV, 4-player. It was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that. It was before the internet cafes and all that. I was starting to touch into that world a little bit. We used to, one of my mates, like one day just kind of blew my mind open. He had you'd have two different mines. You have the proximity mines and the remote mines. The remote mines are ones you would attach to a wall. You would get out the little wristwatch, you'd press it, and it would explode. What he would do is he would throw them at you and explode them midair. So they'd explode in your face like projectiles. And I was just like, what the fuck? How did you even figure out that? And then me and my mate, we play a lot of multiplayer games against each other, got a bit bored of that. So we came up with our own game where we play that level facility that you mentioned, Chris. One of us would leave the room and the other would leave proximity mines across the entire map. and we would have to get from one side of the map to the other
Cool.
without taking any damage. So you'd walk around the corner, you'd look, you'd see one up in the corner, you'd shoot it, it would explode. And like if you were the one planting the proximity mine, you'd have to be careful to not put them too close together, because if you blew up one, it would blow them all. So you're trying to catch the other guy. Yeah, and you'd be putting them like behind doors, underneath steps, in this spot, and you'd be like, I need to get to the end of the level. So I feel like it was probably, I paved the way for a lot of great games like Perfect Dark and stuff like that. Time Spillers that I mentioned earlier, like, and it was just that formula was just so popular for so long. And I really, it's on the screen behind me. I have a soft spot for GoldenEye. I really do.
It's there. You didn't put Doom behind you, buddy.
No, it's on everything else. It's on my washing machine.
Very good.
Excellent.
So, Paul, you're up next. What do you got for us?
Okay, cool. I've got a toss up between two.
Can I guess one of them? Am I allowed to guess?
Okay, go on.
Guessing game?
Yeah.
I think you're going to pick Titanfall 2.
Get that man a bag of crisps.
Really?
Yeah.
You got it.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
It had to be. It had to be.
It had to be. Yeah. Look, I'll spend 20 seconds just saying the other one that really was a massive one for me was
go ahead.
Far Cry 3. So I just want to drop that in there. That was a great game. Had it on 360. Oh, jeez, what a console the 360 was. Fucking hell. Just really, really good narrative, single player campaign, massive open world you could play in. You could play it stealthy, you could play it aggressive, you could play whatever you want. You play a guy who's on the island partying with his friends. You bump into the wrong criminals, Vast, this amazing, terrifying villain. They all get kidnapped. He threatens you. You escape. You spend the whole game trying to rescue them. It had this amazing add-on called Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. I don't know if you played that, but it set it up like it changed the whole world to like a futuristic, synthwave neon world. And Michael Biehn is in it. So it's very Terminator era vibe and all that 80s stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fucking awesome. So anyway, I'm not going to go on about that. Richie got it right. It's Titanfall 3. Oh, sorry, Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2. That's the thing. Everyone wants Titanfall 3. That's the thing. It's on my mind. I know. And I love Apex, which supposedly started life as Titanfall 3, but then became BR. But no, Titanfall 2 is, I think it's the perfect first-person shooter. Certainly, it's the perfect campaign for me. And certainly, I think it's got the best multiplayer of any game out there. So it was developed by a company called Respawn, and Titanfall was their first game. So it was two lads who left Activision. They used to work on Call of Duty, and they set up Respawn, and they made Titanfall. And Titanfall was like sort of like a direct competitor, they thought, to Call of Duty. And you play a pilot, and you have a big, huge mech, and you can battle as the pilot, as a human, or in the mech. People loved what it was trying to do, but it didn't really take off because it was basically a multiplayer only game, which was really bizarre, especially at the time, to release a game like that was like just multiplayer. Like it was sort of a campaign, but it required you to play with other people. But it was just a series of multiplayer games. So when they went back to the drawing board for Titanfall 2, they said, okay, we're just going to go off and make the best single player campaign ever made for a video game. And what they did was they just innovated everything, every kind of game mechanic you can think of, every idea. Like you're playing the game and you can't believe it's like, oh, we're just going to have a level where we just give you this time traveling wristwatch so you can phase between, different time periods. And you're trying to get through this building and you kind of, oh, in this state, this room's on fire and there's monsters trying to eat me. I'll press the button. Oh, I've jumped to a different time. Oh, fuck, there's 50 guards shooting at me. Better. And you're hopping through time trying to jump around and phase, and it's like, and then they go, oh yeah, that was just an amazing game mechanic, but don't worry, we won't use it for the rest of the game because we have some other kick-ass thing to throw at you. And like the biggest thing about that game that has not been beaten to this day is the movement mechanics. And we were saying earlier about Halo Infinite having a grappling hook, but like Titanfall 2 came out in 2016. The grappling hook gameplay in a 2016 game is leagues beyond what they did with Halo. And that's what it means. Like Halo started to copy and they couldn't innovate. Like it was sort of like when they made this game, I'd say they just got everyone in a room and said, fuck, what do you want to do? Okay, we'll do everything. And that's what they did. And one thing they excelled at was narrative storytelling. So you play a guy called Jack Cooper, and like you're not a pilot. A pilot is a prestigious role where you get to like man these mechs, these titans. But he's only a rifleman. He's a nobody. He's a grunt. But then he's in battle. A pilot gets killed, and he puts on the pilot's helmet, and now he is synced with this Titan, BT, and it's their adventure together. And BT is an AI, this personality in the Titan, and they kind of like form a bond. And you, as the player, form a bond with BT, and you go on this adventure. And like the whole story is told to you. I don't. It's not like through cutscenes and you're taken out of it. It's more like Half-Life, where it's you're in the world. So I got to say, Titanfall 2, I think Richie's on board. Chris, have you ever heard or played or anything of Titanfall 2?
I have heard of it, but now I'm going to go upstairs and buy it.
Good.
You have really sold me on playing it. I got a PS4 upstairs. I'm going to play
perfect on PC.
Sounds awesome.
And one thing,
and I'm watching Fallout at the moment. I know that's based on a game, but your Titan conversation, like that moment of the guy getting in the Titan.
Oh, it's incredible.
That sounds like the show I'm watching. I'm like, that sounds awesome.
One thing you got to do when you play Titanfall 2 is, and they did this, and this is what really, again, set it apart from everyone else where they innovated, and it was something so small. I remember playing Call of Duty, and the reason I stopped playing Call of Duty was they brought in crossplay, where you're playing online, but you could be playing against someone on PC, or someone on a different, PlayStation or Xbox. So like, that's on all games now.
It's pretty common now, yeah.
Pretty common now. But I remember that came out, and I remember I was on a level going around, couldn't see anyone, and then I got shot, and then I saw the kill cam, and the guy was right beside me, but his field of view, i.e., how wide he can see in the game, was way wider than me. Because console games generally it's a narrow field of view because the console can only handle a certain amount of has a certain amount of processing power, and Call of Duty was a bollocks for that for years. But Titanfall 2, back in 2016, you go into the settings and you can make your field of view wide. And now you feel like you're playing on a PC and the graphics are insane and the sound is insane. And putting that wide field of view, it makes the game feel faster as well. It's just all that TLC, that tender loving care that went in to make that happen. I'd say that was a nightmare. Like, I don't know how they did it because COD couldn't do it for so long. Now they can.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that was just another thing they innovated. It's like a tiny thing. And it's not on by default. You have to go in and open up the field of view.
Yeah.
But like even stuff like that, like they just really, and it was so heartbreaking because like when it was released, it came out in between, what was it, Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And it bombed, like it flopped.
Yeah.
And it's just like heartbreaking for that game to flop. And I was sort of a late adopter. Once I played it, I was like, oh my God, can you imagine making this? This is the pinnacle. And it flops, But yeah, that's it. I'll stop going on. Love it.
I think it was groundbreaking in every single way. The multiplayer was fantastic. It's probably one of the best campaigns in modern video games. It's a game that doesn't get enough credit. I think it's starting to get its flowers a little bit now.
It really
people
is.
Are starting to show.
Yeah,
a lot of people have bought it recently on PC, I've heard, and even the likes of Steam Deck and stuff, and revisit it. And I feel like it's starting to get its love now. As you said, it probably just came out at the wrong time. And you're looking at that like transition where like you're starting to come to the end of like the PS4 was out a couple of years there, but you're kind of in a weird cycle. I think if it had come out maybe 3 years later, it would have been in a better position. But I really do feel like it's one of the all-time greats, and it will never be like, maybe it'll make them out now, but it'll never be one of those ones that'll be in the top because it was just never as successful as the likes of Call of Duty.
No,
but in so many ways, it was better.
It was way better. Like the game mechanics just were far away, and I think like anyone who's played it says, "Oh yeah, it's top tier."
Yeah.
But I think it's just the amount of people who've played it is nowhere near like a Call of Duty. But once you've played it, like that's
Is that your favorite first-person shooter, Paul?
I don't have a favorite first-person shooter, but I have favorite first-person shooters from different eras.
Okay.
And certainly in what I would call the modern era, the PS4 into PS5 era, that's the gold standard.
Yeah.
Because like I've played that campaign a bunch of times. And like it's still impressive graphically, speed wise, game mechanics is still impressive, and like that's 9 years ago. So
that's great.
I don't know any other game that's still impressive like that today.
Yeah, there's a couple more I just wanted to very quickly just mention, if that's okay, because I know you mentioned Far Cry, which is obviously a big show. I just like to just very quickly mention BioShock. I think BioShock is an absolutely fantastic game. Also released in 2007. Really good, single player only, but like really, really an excellent game for its time. I remember playing that on the PS3, And one of the opening scenes, you end up crashing on water, and there's like fire, and the way the fire reflects on the water in that game, I was like, oh, this is one of those peering into the future moments. It was like, games will never look as good as this moment looks now. But
and the design in the game was amazing too. It's so iconic.
That real underwater steampunk kind of weird, and there's a mystery going on. It was just, the gameplay was fun. It was scary. It was funny. It was just, it's probably not going to make the cut now, but I really think that if you're mentioning a Mount Rushmore, you should at least consider BioShock. There's other ones in there, like the likes of Metro is a good series, Rainbow Six, especially Siege. They're all ones that are quite good. I don't think they're quite going to cut it, but I just like to just say them out loud at least once, so we don't get any heat online or anything like that.
All right. Richie, do you have a favorite out of everything? Like, do you have an ultimate, the very best, your favorite first-person shooter?
I think I'd probably be very similar to Paul in the sense that it all depends on the era. Like, I think that, like, Doom's in the heart. I think Halo had the biggest impact. I'd probably say Half-Life 2, though, to be honest. Like, that's the one for me. Like, and I think it's one that I appreciated a lot more as I got older and as I understood games and how games work and how game development works, and just being an older gamer, because that game came out in 2004, so I was a little bit younger, and I just wanted to like shoot people like in Call of Duty and stuff like that. So playing a game that's a bit more physics and narrative based and stuff like that, it definitely took me a couple of years later before I got that appreciation. But if you ask me right now to pick from the list, I'd pick Half-Life.
All right. Actually, could you give us a rundown of the list?
Yes. So far, the nominations were, I didn't make an actual list, but here I'll just do it off the dome. Just cut this out. What do we got? So we started with, what was your first one?
Mine was Doom.
Oh yeah. So so we've got the nomination so far that will be eventually whittled down to our top 4. We've got Doom, we've got Halo 2, we've got Duke Nukem 3D. Great show. We have got Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. We've got Half-Life 2. We've got GoldenEye. And we've got Titanfall 2. So that's our core list.
Nice.
Is there any others that we want to add, or any other that you feel like you're missing before we get into the deliberations?
South Park. Let's get him in the conversation. He's like, he was like a half nomination.
Let's throw South Park up there so we can just take it down again.
All right, guys. I think we're moving into the next stage. Now this is the actual selection round. The question is, how are we actually looking at curating this? It sounds like when I asked you guys the question of what's your favorite, you both were saying that you like to do it generationally. Is that kind of a way that you want to even look at doing this? Or is there enough like heavy hitters in a certain era that they deserve dual recognition? Like a Stone Cold and The Rock being on the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, even though they shared the same era.
I think only if there's a heavy crossover. Like, for example, if we only really went with one. We have two kind of boomer shooters in Duke Nukem and Doom. I don't think both of those could make the list, and I think that's where I'm kind of standing with it. If something is very similar, the other doesn't make it. Like, you know what I mean? And it's the same thing if you were to nominate Quake and Unreal Tournament and all those games, they're all so similar that you have to pick one. It'd be the same if I said Black Ops, Paul said Call of Duty. You're not putting both of them on the list. You just pick one. Like, so I think that's the only rule I'd have when it comes to this type of list.
Yeah, go along.
It's also nice to look at something like a realistic shooter, like a Call of Duty. Actually feels nice because there is quite diverse from going to hell, going to Mars, this kind of thing. So if you actually had like a representation of like different worlds that you'd be on, is this the space version? Is this the steampunk underwater science fiction version? You know?
Oh yeah, I'd be all for BioShock, man.
I think we've naturally ended up with a lovely split between eras, platforms, and even subgenre, as you said there, Chris. You're going to hell, you're going to space, you're going to Earth. Like I suppose I'll kick it off. I think there was a good pop for Doom. I don't know whether do we want to just, like we did with other ones, look, Doom has to be there, and we just go.
Can you
Doom.
put the clip up of Milhouse from The Simpsons, just him just
and then you put a clip of me as Milhouse standing alone throwing a frisbee to myself with Duke Nukem 3D. I got a feeling that's going to be my USB. I'm getting my very first USB.
Okay, I got it.
Well, it depends. Well, like, you know, here's your chance if you really want to give it a shout. Like, why would it go in ahead of Doom? Like, I'm really interested to know.
I do like Duke Nukem because it does everything that Doom does, but with the personality. So I'm like, wow, you got everything going, same kind of gameplay, same kind of feel, but there's so much more fun and personality and kind of exaggerated qualities to it. And as you say, as a cinephile, there's tons of inside jokes that you still pick up later on. So one is great, the other just exciting and exhilarating on a whole other level. So that
I
would
do
be
feel
my
like
version of it.
I think the things that Duke Nukem does that Doom does a lot better. The level design is better, the gameplay is smoother, the weapons are better. So all the things that Duke Nukem basically took from Doom or similar to Doom is worse. I think the only things that make it different are the puns and the jokes and the personality and all that. But I just don't
And the
think that's
strippers.
enough. And the strippers. It's funny because like they tried to make a modern Duke Nukem, which was in development hell for like 12 years. They eventually brought it out. It was an absolute nightmare. And in this modern era, like a game like that does not land. Like just
Doesn't
those
land,
jokes
no.
or just the
Didn't land.
lewdness and all that. It worked for the 90s, but like it's gone now. I love Duke Nukem. I just don't think it stands up next to Doom, to be honest.
I'd agree with all that. Like I think it lifted so much. You were even saying that the color key cards, like it's a Doom clone with personality, if that makes sense. So but I loved it.
So we're saying Duke Nukem, yeah. So
Good
Duke
man, yeah.
Nukem's up, and now moving on to the.
You're
Guys,
bullying.
I am not
you're doing
dying
what
on
I
this
do.
hill.
You're bullying.
It could be your
I'm
time.
not
It could be your
dying on
time.
This is your dog soldiers.
I would love it. I would love my USB key. Yeah.
Well, look,
so no, it's
maybe,
fine. I
maybe.
think Doom absolutely has a definitive purpose on that Mount Rushmore.
Cool.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I do think then GoldenEye. I'm throwing that in there. That thing is just so impactful for like not just me personally, but for this entire generation of people in the late 90s. I think all of us were just glued to it. Like it's just so many hours were dumped into this goddamn game. I've lost summers from this. So I would absolutely put in GoldenEye. And I think even in the legacy of it and the evolution, it has that pure staple of it's coming after Doom. It's right before this new wave of multiplayer online play, and you've got this one that's sitting there quite unique. It's a film adaptation, which is again a different element, a different shade to it. So I'd put GoldenEye in the first person.
I think that's an important thing to say because whenever I see licensed games and I hear about licensed games, they're usually really, really bad. GoldenEye is the only time they've ever released a licensed game that has been this good. And a lot of the other 007 games that came out a couple of years after were actually quite good as well. The issue I have with GoldenEye, it has aged really badly, and at the core of it, I actually don't think it's a very good game, even though I love it. I think it's janky. I think it's hard to control. I think moving and strafing with the C buttons is absolutely bonkers to me. And I think that if you had access, if all of us who only had consoles and only had GoldenEye and didn't know any better, if we had access to an internet cafe or had a PC and just touched Quake for even 2 seconds, you'd be like, what the fuck is this GoldenEye shit? So I think it is that whole impact that it had on us because it was this licensed game and everyone had an N64. And it was kind of similar to what I said when we're talking about Halo and these games being the first games that a lot of people played online. This is the first time that you or I ever played a game like that because we'd never been, given that before. But
meanwhile, I'm playing Quake with my neighbor down the road.
Right, so you're playing Quake, and I went to the internet cafes, but not enough. I had a friend group that were heavily involved in that, and I was dipping my toe in and out. And I thought at the time I preferred GoldenEye, and I think I was wrong. We can put it up there. I just feel like there's a lot of strong contenders, and I really feel like I'm preempting that GoldenEye might get sacrificed. I'm just going to say it right now because
it's behind you.
yeah, I know, and I love it, to death, and I always will. But I would never play it again now. And I have gaming parties all the time. I had the lads over. We bust out the old games. We play Mario Kart 64. We play WCW versus NWO. We don't play GoldenEye because it's borderline unplayable. And I think that because like you're walking and it's got the auto zoom on people, and then you press like the back button to like do the really bad aim to aim at people, and it's just like, even when I was playing it as a kid, I was like, it just kind of feels off, See,
I was that guy. Like I hated the N64 controller. That's why I was glad I went for the PlayStation. I think. See, the funny thing is, I think that game is amazing. What let it down was the controller it had to use, and I think that like the developers did an incredible job with the shittest controller I think that was ever developed. No one kill me or no one hate me, but it was awful. Like you had to kind of hold it like this and use your thumb like that. nightmare,
Yeah.
absolute nightmare. Like Doom on PlayStation ran better than this.
Yeah, and I think as well, like they even recently they've remastered it and they modernized it and they brought it on the Switch and they re-released it on the Xbox and it works with modern controllers
mm,
and it's still kind of bad, like to be honest. Like, and I love it to death and I hate saying that. I just think that like
but I
it
think in
definitely
fairness,
got.
like no, like I'm. I think this could be your USB key one, Chris. I think this more than Duke. Because
I
I agree with Richie and I disagree with Richie and I'm torn. I played a lot of Time Splitters with a couple of lads and we had
mm,
a ball. Um, but I think Time Splitters was more refined, it was faster.
mm.
They had improved
Actually,
upon the
Time
mechanics.
Splitters 2 as well as
Time Splitters too.
was
Yeah, that's
exceptionally,
what we were playing.
yeah.
Sorry.
Even Perfect Dark as well. Like
Yeah,
they took that model and they made it slightly better, but still, like that game is very difficult to play these
yeah,
days
yeah,
as
yeah,
well
yeah.
because it was them trying to make a game without having the option of using a mouse and keyboard. And you think about it, this is before we had dual analog sticks, so you didn't have that option of running with one stick and aiming with the other stick, and that's why
Yeah.
they had the problem, and that's why they always felt so bad because you're trying to aim with the stick in GoldenEye while you're moving, while you're pressing this R button, while you're doing this and while you're doing that. It was just really hard to do. They should just never brought out first-person shooters on those consoles, like
So what else are we looking at then? It might still make it, but what else are we looking at
we only
from
have
that list?
one definite so far anyway. So
We have one definite.
let's keep
Yeah.
GoldenEye there for the moment.
Yeah, there's also Call of Duty 4. That was a
Yeah,
really strong one.
we've got Call of Duty, we've got Titanfall, Half-Life 2, and Halo.
Yeah,
So they're the final four.
They're all massive heavy hitters. Like we said earlier, it's banger after banger, and each of those nearly changed the industry. And
Mhm.
bizarrely, the one that didn't was actually Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
Like it's real weird thinking of it like that. Like the only thing it
Mhm.
did, it's the only one that didn't change things. So in my
Yeah.
mind, hearing you list those out, I'd be going Doom, Halo. I think that works. And then
yeah.
I'd go COD 4 because I just don't. I think you have to have a COD in there. It's COD 4.
Mm.
I think that is the peak. And then like I'd be going for Titanfall 2 because it's my graw. I love it.
Mm.
But like I think even those three, like I'd nearly be going, okay, the base of this thing is Doom, it is Halo, and it is COD 4. And I think we're fighting it out between GoldenEye, Half-Life 2, and
And
Titanfall
Titanfall.
2. You know,
The three like people we could talk about the favorite
yeah.
shooters of all
And
three of
these
us.
are three iconic games. Like that's just me. I'm
It's
throwing it out there.
it's such a weird one because like I feel very much like you have to get between the whole like because we picked a lot that have impacted and revolutionized and changed the gaming industry, and that does skew a lot of things because I feel like
Yeah.
you've put Halo in because you know how important Halo is,
No,
even
I've
though
put it in
you
because it was so much fun to play.
but also like you understand
you know,
it's the significance of that. That's why you're going well. Like Titanfall 2 was kind of a little bit of a failure, even though you love it more, and you're putting Halo in there. But like, is it a case that we go Doom, Call of Duty, Half-Life, Titanfall?
but the
Is that
truth is,
wild? Is that
the,
wild to leave Halo out? Like, even though I've shown my Halo bust, I've gone crazy
no.
on Halo. Like, is that me being insane? Like,
But I think it's like that thing you raised a minute ago. If you go and play that game now, and I don't like it is hard to always say that things have to stand up, but Doom
it,
stands up. It's 30 something
um,
years old. It still works. It still is fun. You know, you've bought it 20 times.
I don't know how I feel about this one because I really do feel, Paul, you're leaning towards sacrificing Titanfall 2. And I don't know if I'm right or not, but I feel like you're looking at the significance of all the other titles that are on the list. So as I said, like, do we keep Doom? Do we go Titanfall? Do we go Call of Duty? And do we go Half-Life 2? Do we feel like does that flow as a Mount Rushmore? Does all of those titles make sense? We've got your boomer shooter, you've got your kind of your online one, you've got your single player one, you've got your more modern one. Are we hitting all the bases? Or are we psychopaths leaving Halo off? I really don't know. Like it's like I brought this guy in for a reason. I could go and show the rest of the stuff I have. Like, I adore Halo. It means a lot to me. But like, I really like your Titanfall 2 pitch. I feel like I don't even want to fight you on Titanfall 2 because I really like your pitch. Like,
I think, yeah.
I really want to
it's
play
the first.
Titanfall 2.
Is
I'm
this the
glad
first time
Chris is
we've
going to
all?
go play it.
I can't believe we're getting on so well for once.
Yeah. I actually thought this would be a nightmare, but I'm glad our nominations, in fairness, have all had core, really good single player campaigns. And I think that's what I kind of wanted this episode to be. And like, you could easily do another one about this, like multiplayer only.
In my own head, when I was making up a list, I had like, it would be like a boomer shooter, a story driven one, a modern one, and a multiplayer one. So that's the kind of way I worked. So I was thinking Call of Duty or Halo will probably take the multiplayer. Doom will probably take, and that's the way it was formatted in my head. Yeah, as soon as you were like the last three are blah, 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 Half-Life 2, I was just like, I was freaking out. And I was like, I'm not going to sit here and have the longest argument about Half-Life 2 because I'm telling you now, in a million years, I will not USB Half-Life 2. It's not going to happen. It's not going to do it. I'm not putting it on the USB.
I think Half-Life 2 can stay. Like, we won't freak you out. We're not going to leg drop Half-Life 2. But you're saying we should remove Halo as a potential option and instead go COD 4, Titanfall 2, and Half-Life 2.
And if you look at it, you're going, like, if you were to go from years, you're going 1993, 2004, 2007 was Call of Duty, and then 2006 and 2016. So you're like, there's a smaller gap, but you're jumping through a lot of generations here, like,
And Halo 3, which was my Halo, was 2007. The same year as COD 4.
And if you think about it, I'm going for Halo 2 more so than you're going for Halo 3. Like, Chris has enough experience playing Halo to get what it is, so he'll be on board if we push it. But I feel like you'd be pushing it more for Halo as a franchise or Halo 3, but I'd be pushing it specifically for Halo 2, which you don't really have that much love for. So I think that's probably why we should scrap it. Like, it's not being USB'd. I'm not USBing it. We're USBing it.
This is the tricky bit,
But also, I think Titanfall did sound really great, I gotta say.
Oh, you gotta go play it, man. You got the only problem with Titanfall is the player base.
Passionate about that. This is like dog soldier passion levels you were hitting for Titanfall 2, and I'm like, okay, look,
I knew it was coming. I just could sense the type of game.
You predicted it.
I could feel it coming, and I felt like he was going to fight for it. And then when I heard him sacrifice it, my heart was kind of breaking. That I was like, why is he putting this? Why is he putting this in the whammer? Why is he putting this even on the short list? Like,
I guess I just got into that thing of like the impact it's had, but it's like
but we have impact covered a lot, though.
We have impact covered a lot, yeah, and we have picked game changers. But like, if I look at that list there. And like GoldenEye and the USB key, Doom still incredibly playable. Like seriously, like you'd play it today, it's still deadly. COD 4,
I'll play it in a puddle outside. I don't know, like the reflection of my mirror, and I'm like, oh, there's Doom.
But like these four are still highly playable.
I think I'm really happy with that list. Like if I was being personal, like I would probably cut Call of Duty, but like I understand the significance and the impact it had. I'm just not a huge mark for Call of Duty, but I understand why it has to go there. Certain things just have to go on these lists, and we're just going to have to deal with it. And I think Call of Duty is just too much of a monster, like
But I think Call of Duty 4, even people who've turned on the franchise, still love that game. Like that was before it just became they milked the cow too much.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent.
Okay.
So I have a feeling
that
we've
was
actually
terrifyingly easy.
That was it was like
what?
Yeah, there you go. You were
doesn't
worried.
Seem real.
It just slotted right in there. I'm really surprised. Yeah. All right, Richie, give us the official rundown.
Okay, so we've got the Mount Rushmore, the official Mount Rushmore first-person shooters. We've got Doom. We've got Half-Life 2. We've got Titanfall 2. We've got Call of Duty 4. And that is it. The not even disputed at all, is it?
At all, no.
Mount Rushmore, first-person shooters. It's a really good list. I'm really happy. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I do think GoldenEye has to get in there in the USB key. Yeah. I'm feeling bad about GoldenEye because I think it did bring so many people to multiplayer.
Yeah.
I'm not revising my picks, but I'm just saying its impact was huge.
I'm just thinking about the USB key, and it's a GoldenEye level with like the Fraser music playing, and Hulk Hogan's just walking and dropping leg drops. Like that's all I can think about. They're all just in one world now.
You guys enjoy this tame Chris for the video game episodes, because when we go back to film, you got a beast in your hands. Yeah. so you're getting away with it this time, guys.
We're gonna pay for it in the next episode, big time.
That's for sure. All right.
Yeah.
So that's a wrap on today's episode. For everybody listening and watching, thank you so much for tuning in. And Richie, can you tell them where they can find us on all the socials?
Yeah, I think YouTube is the most important. Just search Mount Rushmorons. We're just trying to build that channel there the most, but it's really important to just like hit that like button, share it out there, get more eyes on it, get it into the algorithms. We are on TikTok. It's been doing quite well on TikTok. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. But like, we really appreciate to help grow the YouTube channel, get more eyeballs on it. So just go to Mount Rushmorons on YouTube and just hit that like button.
We're on Spotify too. Yeah. Without the video, we might start uploading the video to Spotify. We can do video podcasts on Spotify as well. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then before we leave, drop in the comments on YouTube and let us know what your Mount Rushmore of first-person shooters would be. Does it align with ours? Would you take one off? Are you gonna smash these guys for taking GoldenEye away from us? Because it should still be there. I'm switching sides. It's coming back. I'm Odd Job sneaking in with a little hat at the bottom of the frame. I'm gonna get you. No, guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time for another episode of the Mount Rushmorons. Take care.